The next objection we will be covering is character evidence. Now, character evidence is evidence of a person's personal traits or personality tendencies. As a general rule, character evidence is inadmissible when offered to prove that a person acted in accordance with his or her personality traits on a specific occasion. However, the simplified rules of evidence recognize 3 exceptions to this rule that we will be discussing. The first exception to the character evidence objection is defendant's own character, which is offered by the defense to prove that the defendant acted in accordance with their character on a specific occasion. For example, the defense can provide evidence that shows that the defendant is kind and compassionate. This evidence may be offered in the form of opinion or evidence of reputation. The second exception is victim's character, which is offered by the defense to prove that the victim acted in accordance with their character on a specific occasion. However, this may only be used if it would prove the innocence of the defendant. For example, the defense can bring up evidence that proves that the victim is a liar, because in that case, it would prove the innocence of the defendant. This evidence can be offered in the form of opinion, evidence of reputation, or specific instances of conduct. The third exception is witness's character, which can be offered by either the prosecution or the defense to prove the dishonesty of an opposing witness. This may be offered in the form of opinion, evidence of reputation, or specific instances of conduct. For example, witnesses can testify about the unreliability of other witnesses. Now, let's talk about admission of prior acts for limited, non-character evidence purposes. First, habit or custom to prove specific behavior. This type of evidence is admissible to prove conformity on a specific occasion. Habit and custom evidence is not character evidence. So if you want to prove that a certain witness or character has a certain habit, you may provide evidence for that, and it is not inadmissible character evidence. Now let's talk about prior act to prove motive, intent, knowledge, identity, or absence of mistake. Now, evidence that the defendant committed a crime or civil wrong is not prohibited when it is relevant to prove some fact other than their disposition to commit an act. So if opposing counsel provides evidence that the defendant committed a robbery in the past, they may only provide that evidence if it's going to prove something other than the fact that because they did a robbery in the past, they're likely to do it now. In that case, it's not admissible. For context, I am a defense attorney asking this witness about the defendant's character. Now, could you tell us about the reputation of the defendant?
Yeah, everyone knew him to be kind, forgiving, compassionate, and he also did a lot of pro bono work.
Objection, Your Honor. Character evidence?
Your Honor, this falls under the first exception of character evidence, defendant's own character.
Your Honor, I would like to ask opposing counsel what exactly qualifies this statement as defendant's own character as an exception to character evidence.
This exception states that the defense may offer evidence of the defendant's own character in the form of opinion or evidence of reputation to prove that the defendant acted in accordance with his or her character on a specific occasion where the defendant's character is inconsistent with the acts of which he or she is accused. See, this witness testified that the defendant is kind, forgiving, and did pro bono work, which is inconsistent with the character that they are being accused of when they committed the crime, and therefore is admissible character evidence.
I have no response, Your Honor.